Hi there, I'm Andre Rabe,
And I'm Mary Ann Rabe.
and today we're going to have a discussion on the nature of truth and how our pursuit of a deeper understanding changes us, and how Mary Ann and myself have changed through the years in what we understood, and how those changes affects relationships. Sometimes for the better, sometimes for the worst. So maybe let's start with the very nature of truth. What do we mean by truth?
Yeah, it's such an important thing to clarify because truth, I mean, we're dealing again with language. What does truth mean? And is truth a static, immovable principle? Can we confine it to a statement of faith or perhaps into a book?
Very often that's where people kind of
Yeah.
stop, is, okay, this statement is true.
Yes.
But statements and language is inherently vague.
Yeah.
Even things that we think are very clear. And I think reality is richer than what any statement can capture.
I just thought of it as you said that. I'm trying to think of, when looking up even on what definitions of truth. The one was saying, in essence, is the correspondence between a statement or belief and objective reality. Also saying goes beyond mere factual accuracy, often intertwining with notions of sincerity, authenticity, and moral integrity. I mean, those are just some ideas that you can think around truth.
Yeah.
But what is it? Because if we speak, some people say, well, truth is a person. What does that imply? Is truth relational? Does truth grow?
Yeah.
Can truth expand? And I was
Yes.
reminded of Jesus speaking in, where is it? where he says, you've heard it said, but I say.
I think it's Matthew 6.
Matthew.
So
And
there's like a statement, you've heard it said.
yeah.
And there was...
And he quotes the law. He quotes what they would have believed to be truth.
Yes.
And he says, but I say, and often when he says that and clarifies, like the example of the law says, don't commit adultery, but I say, even if you think of it, if you're lusting after someone in your heart, it's like he wants to say, get back to the core of where this comes from. And he
reinterprets those statements, because every statement involves interpretation. And so you've heard it said also goes along with a certain way of interpreting those statements. And so Jesus brings this new way of interpreting stuff that landed him in a lot of trouble. And I think we can, and many people can identify with that, that when you start questioning the conventional wisdom, when you start exploring beyond the boundaries of the familiar, that often causes concern. But you're in good company. It's something that Jesus did quite often.
Well, it's interesting when you mentioned the word interpreted. And so, that was one of my questions as well. Can we know truth or understand truth without interpreting it? Is that not what we do? We see our world through a certain lens. So where does interpretation...
Yes, and I don't think we ever fully get away from interpretation, because the closest we come to reality, I think, is that very initial experience, a raw experience. But for any experience to start making sense to us, there's an element of interpretation that takes place. We've often spoke of the fact that we can both be present at the same event, but we experience it differently.
Yeah.
And it's because experience itself is an interpretation.
And it's very relational. You embedded in.
Yes, you bring yourself. You are the context in which you interpret every new experience. So there are some practices to say, okay, how do I try and connect and relate to reality without all the context, without my story? We might get to that. But I don't think any statement is ever beyond interpretation. Whenever we move from experience to thought and from thought to language, we're deeply involved in interpretation. And that's not a bad thing.
No.
I think interpretation is a beautiful, creative space in which new novelty and new perspectives can be,
and
creativity can come to the fore, but we need to recognize that there's this distinction between the underlying reality and our interpretation of reality, and that our interpretation might be part of the process of kind of growing reality, of making it bigger than what it is.
And I think the bottom line is what we're saying is moving away from that idea of truth being static, being a question of am I right or wrong about this fact or this idea or this concept. And I think what's drawn me forward the most in my pursuit of truth is just that understanding of whether I am right or wrong, that I'm being held by truth. In my pursuit of truth, truth is holding me, and love is holding me. And so
it reminds me of Paul saying, not that I've already grasped or attained, but I keep reaching out to try and take hold of what took hold of me. It's almost that's so similar to his experience of I've been grasped by a reality that I'm trying to find words and expression for it, but it's larger than my words and expression. That's
and it's
beautiful.
More of an influence in which, in this influence, you're invited to be curious, to explore, to be playful. And I think it's a beautiful thing to be drawn, to be, and I think that is the way God draws us into truth. And I just thought of that place where Pilate asked Jesus, what is truth? And just before that, Jesus has said, the reason I came into the world is to testify to the truth. And then he says, everyone on the side of truth listens to me. And that also gave me the impression that this was more to be on the side of truth. It's more like this intentional, this experiential
this attitude
to be open, to listen. And that it's something that's more, and then that's when Pilate asked, what is truth? He never really gets an answer to that, but that it is just this drawing. What is it that's drawn us forward?
And we I think there's such an obsession to find a final, complete, undeniable, eternal truth, that we very often miss this dynamic, moving nature of truth. So maybe thinking of beauty as a metaphor for truth would be helpful, because beauty, if you can witness the most amazing sunset or sunrise, it's undoubtedly beautiful. but it doesn't capture everything that beauty is.
Yeah.
Tomorrow there will be a sunrise, and it will have a different beauty. Another sunset, which will combine all the elements of nature in a way that unfolds this inexhaustible beauty in a new way.
Yeah.
And so to use that as a metaphor for truth being a dynamic harmony in this evolving reality, this reality that's becoming more than what it was yesterday. The universe we live in today is not the same universe we lived in yesterday, because so much has happened.
I think even the way we process information, the way we process and understand our world is changing. We are in a totally different informational world and process, and so we are adapting to the way we understand things, and also relationships, that you spoke in the beginning about it impacting our relationships. How many that have experienced themselves moving or opening themselves up to something larger than what they have previously believed. They have outgrown maybe the tradition that they were involved in, but they've experienced that many of those relationships that they had, and let's call it what it is, they've experienced those as having suddenly realizing how shallow they were, because they were now discounted because they believed slightly differently or questioned or grew.
When you suddenly realize, wow, this relationship was just based on we agree about the same statements. Is that really all it was based upon?
Yeah. And again, that's when your idea of truth is limited to those statements or to what you believe is fact. And
that's why, so there's two aspects. I know we've experienced it, and a lot of people that we connect with and groups that we connect with have experienced the same thing, that this evolving, moving, dynamic relationship with truth will affect relationships either in a positive or a negative way. So you touched on the negative, where there's this shallow agreement.
Yes.
And then if anything seems to be out of agreement, if you step out of the party line or the accepted wisdom, then there's fear, anxiety, and people cut off the friendship. And we see that in religious groups as well, where there's such anxiety about people exploring beyond the accepted statements of faith. But then we've been to some amazing groups, and we've experienced some amazing friendships that's not just based on
whether we
agreement, but based on understanding. And that for me is a goal in friendship and even in community that can be so useful if we acknowledge that our friendship is this common, this joint pursuit of truth, and I want to understand you even if I disagree with you.
Yes.
Because your disagreement is more valuable than your agreement if your disagreement is based on understanding.
Yes.
And your agreement is just this shallow, we use the same terminology and the same statements to say things. So I think this common goal of what Jesus said, those on the side of truth, if you can kind of tap into that attitude, that intention to say, I want to be on the side of those who sincerely and honestly pursue truth. Even if our statements aren't aligned yet, we're on the same side.
And I think, when you openly and honestly expose yourself to friendships, to people who see things differently, but who you sense, like you said, have an affinity towards, they're pursuing truth in whatever way. When you open yourself up to understand them honestly, there's also an aspect, if you are really listening, that you could be influenced by them.
Absolutely.
And
that's an openness.
That's a real openness.
Yeah.
And I think for me, the measure of whether truth is having its impact is the fruit. It's like, is this message, is this encounter, is what I'm believing causing me to love more? Or is it restricting me to a little bit more judgment or condemnation?
Yes.
And I think that's always what we can bear in mind. You don't need to fear being exposed to people of other backgrounds, religions even. You don't need to fear. I don't think truth has its source in fear,
I think that reminds me of, is it John 8, where Jesus speaks about those who are born of God love.
Yes.
It's like that is the fruit of this this love of truth, because he kind of compares this being born of God to being born of the father of lies. And the father of lies, what does he want to do? He wants to murder, he wants to destroy. So it's beautiful as you speak about truth, that the fruit of this alignment towards truth is love.
Yes.
And the fruit of an alignment towards judgment, towards condemnation, towards that kind of, is more in the realm of the kingdom of darkness, in the father of lies.
Yeah, I think even of one of my earliest memories in this pursuit of truth was, I think I was 18 or 19, and I'd come to an understanding, a relationship with God, and I so wanted to. It was, first of all, I'd had an encounter with God as kind, as just love, and then went to find out that I had to believe certain things, and I had to get as many people on the side of truth as possible. And so my encounters with my father, who had been hurt by religion, parents missionaries, and the whole story that comes with that, and my discussions with him were very scripturally led. I, maybe did do a bit of Bible bashing. And it just ended in such heated debate and a strain in our relationship, a real strain. And I remember that moment where I opened myself up to something larger than just believing what was right. And when I encountered God in the largeness, and one of the catalysts was 2 Corinthians 5, God reconciling the world to himself, not imputing or counting anything against them, and has given us the ministry of reconciliation. What does that look like? You are friends with God, be friends.
Yes.
And how that understanding, I just wept for, I think it was a 14-hour journey home. I just wept, understanding that where I had excluded my own father from this relationship, or from truth, that he had been part of God all along.
Yes.
And
that's a reality.
Yes.
That you need to wrap your language around
I know.
differently than just right or wrong, in or out.
Yes, yeah. And the fact that, I started to open my heart to the way that God saw him and accepted him, and that he was part of the family. And my whole relationship with him changed radically. I didn't need to persuade him, convince him of truth. I simply loved him with truth. I was true to him and embraced him with the goodness and the encounter I had encountered in the truth.
No, I remember the last day that we visited him, and he was at that stage kind of in his last
drowning in his own fluids.
days, and you had such a beautiful conversation with him there.
And he couldn't talk at the time, and so I grabbed hold of his hand and I said to him, "Hey Dad, why don't you stop fighting and struggling and just dance with the one who's been dancing with you all your days?" And I said, "If you want me to pray with you, I can. Just squeeze my hand or blink." And he blinked and squeezed my hand. And I just said, "Papa, receive your son. Son, receive your Papa." And I said goodbye to him and got down into the car where you were waiting for me. And we weren't even 10 minutes, I think, from the hospital, and they phoned and they said he just slipped away.
Yes.
It was such a beautiful experience. But truth is living, and truth is loving.
And it is a reality worth pursuing with integrity and with honesty and with persistence. So I think the habit of asking questions is good. If I can, many times we're in churches and groups, and if I can say anything to the leaders of communities, it would be resist the temptation to become protective of a certain way of articulating this truth. And rather create the kind of environment that welcomes orientating questions, an environment in which we can creatively delve deep into and explore this inexhaustible truth, because truth doesn't need to be defended.
No.
It's one of the famous preachers that once kind of used that idea of it's like a lion, just set it free. It will defend itself. And so to create an environment that invites people into the depth of this mystery, to discover for themselves their participation in truth.
Yes.
That truth is not something just outside of us. Jesus didn't just come to give us a truth, but to make us truly ourselves.
Beautiful.
And it is that aspect of truth that together with Jesus we can say, I am the truth.
Yes.
I am honest. I am in harmony with this living movement. Is a much richer experience of truth than just a bunch of statements that you try to order so that your life makes sense.
Beautiful.
Well, thank you, friends. We'll do a few more of these conversations on this topic, and speak soon.
Yes.
Bye.
Bye.